So I'm doing an HFOS project. In case you don't know what HFOS is, it's humanitarian, free, and open source software. I'm going to be working with a nonprofit organization called PEOPLink. You know, it's kind of a weird word. When I first started, I was like, what does that say? So right now, their main product is an e-commerce platform called Open Entry, and despite being called Open Entry, it's not open source. A previous incarnation of their system was open source. They had it on SourceForge, but it wasn't really well maintained there, and I guess when they decided to redo things, they closed it down and never opened it back up. So I've been speaking with them over the course of the past month, and we've kind of squared away some details, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So for the most part right now, I'm looking to help them in sort of administrative way. They have a pretty small staff. It's basically one CEO who has the nonprofit in the United States, and all the developers are in Nepal. I believe there are 3 or 4 guys that program and 1 office manager. So basically they do a lot, and they don't have much time to do it. So I'm looking to bring their project open source in such a way that it will not take them tons of time. So I'll be probably doing the bulk of the work for that. And I'm also helping them with some other aspects of the development. I know they need better documentation. Their templates, which I will show you on, are not the most gorgeous things known to man, so they also need some help there. So why open source this? When I spoke with Dan Salcido, who is the CEO of PEOPLink, he was very strongly for bringing part of the platform open source because he believes that kind of the ideals behind open source are very in tune with the ideals of his own nonprofit. My kind of sales pitch for it was that, you know, they would like volunteers somewhere down the line, and if the code is open source, it's a lot easier to get volunteers like remotely involved. And also you can amplify the social benefit of having such a tool by enabling people to fork the code and do other things with it, or extend it as they will for their own purposes. So the goal of their platform and their nonprofit as a whole is to help reduce poverty by linking developers in the developing world, well, producers of fair trade products, with consumers without having to hit maybe, like, you know, 13 some odd middlemen in between. So it's a focus on small to medium-sized enterprises. It's not really like the single, you know, little old Indian man making rugs in his house. So slightly bigger businesses, and they're looking to increase fair trade profits. In general, you'll see Starbucks brag about their fair trade coffee, but in the end, the producers only get something like 6 or 7% of the final cost, and you're paying, you know, whatever it is, $10 a pound for coffee. So despite it being fair trade and that being kind of a buzzword right now, you're really not seeing, I mean, a couple of percents max increase from what the free trade price would be. So it's not really great. I somehow went forward without meaning to look there, did I? Okay, yeah, I did. All right, I guess I clicked while I wasn't looking. So there's 2 main parts to Open Entry. One is the one that I'm actually bringing open source, and that's the catalog generator. So it's basically like a simple, you know, data entry format, so people who don't know anything about setting a website up can populate their catalog with the products. It's kind of oriented more towards wholesale right now and not to end consumers. So for example, if you had a store and you wanted to sell necklaces, you would buy maybe 50 necklaces from a producer, but if you were one person and you wanted to buy a necklace, that's probably not what you would be doing. And then there's the network markets. They don't want to bring that code open source now, and they have some plans that, despite being a nonprofit, I think they look to make some money doing some of the services like the network markets, and they want to use that money to subsidize helping, like, hosting services for the, you know, very small end kind of fair trade producers. So they're using some profits for some of their work to funnel back and subsidize stuff for poor people who wouldn't necessarily be able to afford some of the hosting and things like that. So this is an example. The World Fair Trade Organization is one of the pioneering organizations of fair trade. I think there's also the World Trade Federation. And they linked up with PEOPLink, and they put their own network market. It works. I mean, it certainly works, but it's not the most professional thing, and there's some weird buggy things about it. For example, if I click this and I click out, it doesn't work. You have to kind of X out of that, and that's not the greatest. And then if you click it, it doesn't take you to the page you want to go to. You have to hit the order button, and it kind of needs some help. It's kind of like, you know, e-commerce web design you might have saw like 5 or 6 years ago. But this is an example of a catalog that's from Thai Tribal Crafts Fair Trade. And then this is using their software. And they entered all of this information, you know, in a spreadsheet kind of. You can download the templates as a spreadsheet and just do them offline, or you can work on them directly. It's all hosted on Google Apps Engine, so that's how that is working. So, really the project calendar for this in terms of RCOS is going to be February through May. I've split the semester into 2-week cycles, and then my full semester kind of milestone, the milestones that I would like to see are not going to get to come until I actually put together a proposal and get to start bringing things open source and putting up a repo and things like this. So this, I mean, I'm not going to go over every one, but this is the basic task and the deliverables that I'm looking to do in the next 2 weeks. It's mostly I'm putting together a proposal. If any of you have any, I guess, prior experience in open source administration for like communities, I would appreciate any advice you might have for me. Because pretty much I need to, they have some of their code that they're looking to keep closed and open sort of mixed together, and there needs to be a bit of a reorganization to make the catalog generator plug and play to the rest of it, which is probably work I'm going to have to do. And then looking into the best ways to do project management and what kind of open source licenses would be the most appropriate for their sort of nonprofit business model. I'm also going to start looking at the templates. I don't know if I'm going to have time in the next cycle to go on and do that, because I've got to learn the Google Apps Engine stuff. It was in Python they were using, so Google Apps Engine you can work with either Python or Java. And they were in Python, and then they switched it to Java, which I don't really understand why, so I guess I'll be working in Java. And I'm going to be putting up a project wiki pretty soon, but it might not make too much sense to put it up until I actually have more details as to specifically what I'll be doing once my proposal gets accepted by them. That's pretty much it. Thanks to Professor Morthy. I'm like not doing this for credit or money or anything. I hurt my back last semester and didn't get to really do my project, so I'm kind of doing my try number 2 this semester. David Doria's been pretty brilliant about getting prompt constructive criticism to everybody who's been posting on the Google group, so I really appreciate that. The observatory team. Observatory looks amazing. I may not be actually able to register anything yet, but hopefully I will be. And then Sean O'Sullivan for his support of the program. On another note, what I'm hoping to do this semester is kind of recruit in the undergraduates. What do you call the, like freshmen and sophomores? Oh. Underclassmen? Is that? Underclassmen. Sure. I think that's probably the right word. People. Okay, so basically I'm looking to do some active recruitment of the noobs to see if we can get more people interested in HFOS for previous, like upcoming semesters, possibly with open entry and maybe with some other projects as well. What's up?
Professor Ron Eglash over in STS works on a lot of these kind of projects. Yep. I would definitely bring this to his attention. He maybe will give you support, whether it's students or whatever.
He does socially. He does buy local, but he also does. I think he calls them socially or ethnically oriented learning tools. I remember asking him. I think those are mostly closed source, and I don't know if he's opened them or knows how to. Or that's certainly a potential project. Working with his team and doing some more of those as open source projects.
Buy local, I think, has a similar idea to it, and that is open source. So.
Yeah, I know someone who did a MITRE project that they were working on by local.
By local, it had support from RCOS, but there were some questions. The other place where I'm going to invite people from Trinity College who are working on HFOS project to come this semester again to give a talk and to again make students interested in HFOS activities.
And I certainly think with the HFOS perspective that we could definitely rein in some people from some other departments, like over in the STSS department and things like that, people that might be interested in programming. But I mean, who's kidding who? If you're a STSS person, certain technical aspects of a lot of these projects probably wouldn't necessarily interest them, but then something like an HFOS project might. So I'm going to be working on that. I was speaking to Professor Murthy and I was talking about maybe if we could style the recruitment for RCOS for the summer and upcoming semesters as kind of like a research project. So when you go and you see the flyers on bulletin boards, you see that they say, okay, well, this is the project, we're looking for 2 to 3 students, you know, you contact this person. If we were to instead do that for RCOS projects, like if Nate put up a flyer and it said, you know, are you interested in blah, 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 you know, join the EASE group, this is the project, you know, contact me. And if you framed it like that, I think for people who...
Cihan, I have some technical question. Where the website is hosted? Where is the website hosted? Is it part of the Google?
It's on the Google Cloud right now, yeah. But I think you could deploy it on your own server, but right now I think it's all hosted on Google. Okay, so I'm going to be putting together some of those little simple templates for a text editor for hopefully people to fill out, so we could start with that pretty soon. I figure since the career fair is this week, if we wait a couple weeks after that, after people like fail to get their internships or they find that they're not getting...
Okay, so that reminds next Wednesday is the career fair and also the poster session. You have to give me your names if you're going to submit posters. So I know only roughly four or five people I even contact. So please send me an email.
So maybe, you know, when people get turned down by Google, they'll decide to work with RCOS for the summer instead of, I don't know, Oracle. So we can hope. And that's it. So I'm done, in case anyone has anything else.